Good morning, Shay. I just wanted to go over a couple things on your hero build here, just to make sure that you get the best time operating it, and I'll just touch upon the flagship a little bit as well. So with this one here, it's got the crystal chamber in the grenade section, and we've got our switch box with a button here and the aux button here. In order to operate the saber, what you'll find you have to do is just take the pommel cap off. And inside here, this little speaker pod comes out. And if you look inside, you can see that there's a switch on one side, the little speaker connectors, and then there's a tiny 1.3 millimeter charge port, and you can see your Profi and SD card there. When you go to charge, you'll use a little adapter inside there in the charge port, and then you can hook your regular 2.1 millimeter charger up with your USB. But otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. So to operate it, just switch in the down position, if you will, if you're looking at it from this angle. You won't hear a boot sound because obviously there's no speaker in it. And then you drop the speaker in, facing towards the pommel, and then screw it in there. Now, if you don't get sound out of it right away, don't panic. So for example, right now, we do have sound. But if you were to ever not have sound for whatever reason, like the speaker just didn't quite align right, just don't panic. Take the speaker out, pop it out, and just rotate it, say 180, and drop it in again. It just might be that it didn't quite get exactly the right contact by some kind of miracle. So again, with the crystal chamber, we want to be extra careful not to cause any damage when we're in there, because as soon as you open up a hilt, you've got the chassis exposed. So you don't want to cause any damage. So we'll open this up. Don't be in a hurry. Slide it off as straight as possible, because you don't want to put any torsional load on this chassis. It is, after all, just plastic, and so it could be very easily be broken, and there's a lot of wiring that goes up in here to connect to the PCB, which goes inside the grenade section there. Of course, you can ignite it when it's open, and it does all the things. Okay. And again, equal care when you're putting this together. Get it nice and straight, bring it all the way in gently, get the threads lined up, and then force them together so that once this is closed up, it's a nice, good system. And don't crank the threads tight. You don't want the thing to get stuck. Just get it nice and snug, and that's it. And then when you ignite, you got your PCB working here. Now, just one note that I wanted to also mention was on Allen keys. When you go to put your blade in one of these thin neck sabers, they don't have very much blade depth, so if you do get a little bit of wiggle, don't panic. That's just kind of how they are. This particular one only has a single Allen key set screw to hold the blade in. Don't crank the bejesus out of it and wreck your blade. The other thing I note on Allen keys is often people have these kind of cheap little silver Allen keys they put in these things. I'd really recommend not, using those. They're the ones that often come with a guy's saber. A better way to go is typically these sets where the Allen keys are just a little bit more precision. You've got whole sets like this you can get for like under $15, and these black hardened Allen keys tend to work a little bit better. It's often the Allen key that will be the thing that smears when you're trying to tighten up a blade or whatever, and you don't want it to go in because it doesn't fit properly to damage that set screw. It's a bit of a pain that we've got there. The other thing is when you're taking this apart and you're doing your crystal stuff, don't take any of these portions apart. We don't want them to spin. We want them to stay tight. So again, care taken when you're operating any of the saber. Okay. All right, just a few tips on the flagship itself. This one's a one button setup, and so I'll send you instructions on how to use the one button. This one's pretty straightforward, except the fact that it has an external, like a removable battery, so you'll need to use like a Nightcore D2 or something similar to charge that battery up. Putting the battery in is pretty straightforward. You just unscrew the entire lower section. Now, when you do this, do be careful because, again, we've got a lot of chassis exposed here, and we don't want to break it off. A little bit of wiggle here is normal because the only thing that holds the whole chassis in is actually the button itself. And there's some wiring that's exposed there, obviously. Not a big deal. When you're putting a battery in, you've got your battery here. We've got a positive side, negative side. This won't be exactly what your battery looks like, but The spring side is always negative, so meaning that the positive side is going to be down. There's a good reason for that. It's much easier to put in and out this way. Now with this particular one, when you do turn it on, there will be a boot sound.
I'm sorry, Anakin. For all of it.
Then we can slide our pommel on here, or lower with the pommel. Now with the one button setup, it can do pretty much everything else that all the rest of the Sabers do. It's just done through the single button, so igniting just like normal. To turn it off, it's just a simple hold. All right, a little longer than normal, but otherwise works pretty good. It's quite loud, this one. And push and hold for a long period of time, and then it goes to the next font.
Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?
You get the idea. Now, one thing I do recommend is that the battery itself, if you're going to be using it or not using it for a bit, you know, obviously switch the power off so that it's definitely with the kill switch so that it's off. But I don't recommend storing the batteries in the Saber. If possible, use it in the container that the battery comes in. It's the safest practice. And use your external charger. Those nice low and slow chargers are really awesome. Yeah, and other than that, it's pretty straightforward. It's got a lot of blade depth here, so you know you won't have any issue with this. And obviously, we use that shorter blade for the lady for this one. Exciting. On the note of battery removal, usually using like a plastic tool just to peel the edge up might be an idea. If you squeeze this thing and try to put any pressure on it, it will break the chassis right off, and then again we'll have wires in there that'll be exposed. Using some kind of plastic tool just to peel the edge of the battery up, and it comes out nice and easy. I do like these particular holders in here because the holder does have this coil spring, and the coil spring makes it a whole lot easier to go in and out.